Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 448, Pokemon Ranger, Deoxys Crisis, Part 1. Yeah, that's right, we're dealing with a two-parter episode for once, guys. Anyways, the episode begins with Ash and the gang having started their journey to the Battle Pyramid, the destination of Ash's final Battle Frontier battle. May was extremely excited, knowing that her next contest would be coming up soon, and she was also excited by the fact that she only needed one more ribbon in order to get into the Kanto Grand Festival. Brock was excited, since the Battle Pyramid they were heading to was located near Pewter City, so he would get to revisit there before they went to the Battle Pyramid, while Ash was just excited to win his final Frontier symbol, preparing himself mentally for the immense challenge that he would face at the Battle Pyramid, according to what Annabelle said anyways. Eventually, Ash and the gang arrive at the edge of a cliff and admire the beautiful mountain range up ahead of them, with Ash and Pikachu particularly memorized by it. Max was the first one to notice Swablu and Altaria, a whole flock of them. Ash happily greeted them, wanting them to come towards him, but just then, the Swablu and Altaria ignore Ash and the gang, simply flying towards an aurora, a bright light that had just appeared, which May thought was absolutely beautiful, but Max, on the other hand, was a bit suspicious of what the aurora could entail. Pikachu wasn't really having a great time either, as it started to emit crazy amounts of electricity, acting a bit strange because it just didn't feel like itself. The Swablu and Altaria were acting a bit strange too. They were flying in weird patterns, and not very well. So bad, in fact, that Ash and the gang started to panic, thinking that if the Swablu and Altaria continued to fly like that, they would eventually fall out of the motherfucking sky. Ash gets an idea, however, as he sends out Swellow to try and lead the Swablu and Altaria on the right flight path, but Ash's Pokeball fails to open, the one containing Swellow. Anyways, Brock and May try to send out their Pokemon to test if something was wrong with all the Pokeballs, and they find out that was true, because none of their Pokeballs would even open too. And when Max pulled out his Pokédex to try and find out more information about what could be up with the area, his Pokédex didn't work either, so it was like any technology didn't work. Just then, Ash and the gang spots Solana on a nearby cliff, who explains that they had to help the Swablu and Altaria, and that's what she was going to do as a Pokemon Ranger. Yeah, that's right, guys. Solana, a character of the day, is actually not a character of the day. She's back. Anyways, Brock instantly falls in love with Solana and admires her beauty, and fully ignoring the plusle on her shoulder. But Solana just ignores Brock, and she proceeds to utilize her capture style device, the thing that turns into like a Beyblade-like thing, and uses it to capture an Altaria. Once she had done this, she ordered the Altaria to use Refresh, which allowed it to basically heal up and regain its normal abilities, and then Solana ordered it to help out the other Swablu and Altaria by leading them to safety and just helping them fly properly, basically. And this Altaria did this, and they flew off peacefully, as Ash and the gang admired Solana's ranger skills and her capture style device. With that done, Solana officially greets Ash and the gang, and points out that a whole bunch of other Pokemon Rangers had detected geomagnetic irregularities, which essentially changed the physics of the world, so that explained why the fuck the Altaria and Swablu were having difficulty flying, and therefore Solana was the ranger chosen to investigate these irregularities. Also, Solana shows proof of these irregular electromagnetic movements on a separate device, explaining that her capture styler was resistant to electromagnetism, so that device could still work, but other devices, such as Pokeballs and Max's Pokédex, wouldn't work, and it was also why the Swablu and Altaria couldn't fly properly, because they used geomagnetic force. Oh yeah, and Solana added that electric Pokemon such as Pikachu would be feeling weird too, because they obviously use the electromagnetic force. Hearing about Solana's piece of technology that was resistant to the electromagnetic force made Ash and the gang jealous. Just then, Pikachu starts to move around in very erratic ways, and eventually looks up into the sky, having sensed something. Ash and the gang and Solana wondered what it was for a second, but then they spotted a portal opening in the middle of the sky, from which a Deoxys, a legendary Pokemon, appeared. The Deoxys appears to take an interest in Max for some reason, as Deoxys and Max stare at each other, causing Max to experience a sudden vision of outer space. But immediately after this, the Deoxys disappears back into the portal. Solana suggests that they talk about what the fuck just happened at a Pokemon Center, while Max was extremely confused as to what this vision he just experienced was. So, Solana takes herself and Ash and the gang to a nearby Pokemon Center, where they were immediately greeted by Nurse Joy, who Brock tried to flirt with, but Max pulled him away as usual. Damn, Brock, make up your mind, Solana or Nurse Joy? Solana then reveals one of her reasons for wanting to bring Ash and the gang to the Pokemon Center. It was so that they could talk with Nurse Joy to find out if the center's computers were down, and Solana asked this, and found out that this was the case, to the point where the computers weren't even able to be activated. And Joy already knew that it was because of the geomagnetic force being disrupted. And we then see several technicians trying to get the computers back up online, but they were failing miserably. Ash and the gang were very confused, wondering why the fuck all the technology was on the fritz. Like, why was there this geomagnetic disturbance in the first place? While they were wondering this, though, Solana had already come to the conclusion that the presence of Deoxys was the cause of all the disruptions, since apparently it had been spotted appearing for a week. But not only that, Solana mentioned that that was just its recent appearances. It had also appeared long before in a town called LaRousse Town, where a professor there, Professor Lund, mentioned that it appeared via a meteorite crashing on a mountain in the town, and she specifically clarified that the meteorite had crashed a long time ago, with Nurse Joy adding that she knew of this tale and mentioned that Professor Lund had said the meteorite crashed 10 years ago. And we see a flashback of the flaming meteorite crashing down in the town. Solana, interested in stopping the Oxus so the magnetic force would go back to normal, decided that she needed to find the meteorite to learn more about the Oxus. So, Nurse Joy reveals that she had a map that led to the mountain and ran off to go grab it. Ash and the gang were all interested in coming along, especially Max. Although Solana declined, stating that it would be too dangerous for anyone else to come along, and justified that she was way more used to investigating dangerous shit. Max was really persistent, but was still denied by both Solana and May. Since May wanted to protect her little brother, she would only let him go if she could go herself, and she wasn't able to. As Max was left depressed by this, Nurse Joy handed Solana the map, and she set off to the mountain. Meanwhile, Team Rocket had overheard everything that had been said. They'd been spying from around the corner in the Pokemon Center, as usual. Mime Jr. was out with Team Rocket when Jesse and James suggested that they should steal whoever this Deoxys Pokemon was for Giovanni. Meowth agreed to this idea with absolutely no hesitation whatsoever, suggesting that Giovanni could really utilize Deoxys as he had a boss fantasy, remembering that Deoxys had come from space. So Giovanni could wake up in his mansion one morning and encounter Deoxys and ride Deoxys into space. Meowth then suggested that in order to capture Deoxys, they follow after Solana to where she was going to find it, and James, Mime Jr., and Jesse all agreed as they all cheered and started to follow after Solana as she left, with Wobbuffet coming as well, and Mime Jr. riding on James's back. Also, Team Rocket were literally crawling after Solana. Anyways, Solana was following the map by herself with Plusle on her shoulder when she noticed Plusle being affected by the geometric disturbance and tried to calm it down. And, it was like Pikachu, where it wasn't reacting well to the disturbances. But eventually, Solana made it to her destination that the map had led her to, a cave. She then noticed Max following, who was enjoying the shining sun while hiding inside a bush. Solana demanded that Max stop hiding and come out. Max does, a little embarrassed, admitting that he just had to come after Solana. Just then, Ash, Brock, and May arrive as well, making Solana mad that they didn't stay in the Pokemon Center like she said. But as Solana saw how much Ash and the gang really wanted to come along with her into the cave, she let them, since they had come all the way, and even let Brock take the geomagnetic scanner that measured the geomagnetic force that she had, which really impressed Brock. He was honored to be doing something of assistance to Solana. Without further ado, Ash and the gang went into the cave, especially excited, while Team Rocket followed them as well, coming along another side of the cave. James was a bit skeptical to go in, though, as for some reason he developed a worried feeling that something was wrong inside the cave, and just something would go absolutely terribly. And while Mime Jr. tried to comfort James, Jesse and Meowth just yelled at James, demanding that they come with them into the cave, and James eventually obliged, coming with Mime Jr. and Wobbuffet too. Meanwhile, back with Ash and the gang and Solana, as they were walking through the cave, Brock stated that, according to the scanner, the geomagnetic force had actually become normal where they currently were, and this was evident as Ash's Pikachu and Solana's Plusle felt better now, although Solana stated that the force would eventually come back. It was only gone for a little while. Brock continued to monitor the scanner as Max eagerly pushed ahead in front of everyone else, desperate to find Deoxys. Back with Team Rocket, they were still following Ash and the gang and Solana, although James was quickly falling behind Jesse and Meowth, still scared as fuck, holding his Mime Jr., although some yelling from Jesse and Meowth once again got him to continue on. Max eventually got impatient the farther away from the rest of the gang and Solana that he ran, and demanded that they speed up and catch up to him, when suddenly he spotted a lone Miltank. Hearing about this Miltank, Solana turned on her flashlight to light up the area to get a better look at Miltank, as she and the rest of the gang caught up to Max, and Solana instantly used her Ranger device to capture the Miltank, putting it under her control, with Solana revealing that she did this because she figured if Miltank was in the cave where Deoxys was at, it could potentially help them find Deoxys. Ash and the gang congratulate Solana on her temporary capture, still amazed by her awesome device, as they all press on, and with Miltank following, eventually come across the spot where the meteorite crashed into, according to the map. Max immediately calls out to Deoxys, eager to see him, but Brock tells Max that Deoxys does not know its own name, most likely, because Brock had never heard of a Deoxys being in actual human contact due to being a legendary Pokemon, so calling its name might not work very well. Max then turns to Solana, asking her if she was sure it was Deoxys causing the geomagnetic disturbance, as Max further stated that if Deoxys was in this cave and the geomagnetic disturbance was not occurring anymore, then Deoxys couldn't have been the cause. Just then, though, another geomagnetic disturbance is detected on the scanner, according to Brock, and the cave starts to shake as Deoxys appears on top of the meteorite inside the cave, coming down from a little opening in the cave. Well, not a little opening, but a relatively big one. Pikachu and Plusle were immensely affected by the disturbance, having a whole bunch of electricity emit out of their cheeks. As for Team Rocket, they were really feeling the cave shaking and got frustrated with James getting so frustrated that he wanted to leave, fearing that the entire cave was gonna fucking cave in or some shit. But Jesse and Meowth still wanted to continue, so they went further into the cave, and Jesse simply covered James's mouth and Mime Jr.'s so that they wouldn't cause a problem and yell and shit like that. While Jesse and Meowth were forcibly dragging James and Mime Jr. with them, while Wobbuffet followed, the cave suddenly stopped shaking as Deoxys came through a portal at the meteorite site. Deoxys soon emerged from the portal, while this affected Pikachu and Plusle, implying that Deoxys was impacting the force after all. Basically, the disturbance was being caused by Deoxys appearing in and out of the cave and in and out of portals. Also, Deoxys coming out of this portal caused it to change to its attack form, according to Solana, which she knew about, and it then used Psycho Boost to attack Ash and the gang and Solana. Although everyone was really startled by this sudden attack, they were still able to dodge, and Ash was able, while on the ground, ducking to avoid more Psycho Boost, to tell Pikachu to use a Thunderbolt. Wow, some rocks were falling down from the cave thanks to the impact of Deoxys coming out of the portal and using the missed Psycho Boost. However, Deoxys protects itself from the Thunderbolt by changing to its defense form, as noted by Solana. So the Thunderbolt basically did jack shit. While Solana was reading up on Deoxys' defense form using data on her device, she saw that Ash and the gang were confused as to how Deoxys was changing forms. So she explained that Deoxys had 4 forms depending on the situation it was in: normal, attack, speed, and defense. And also elaborated that she planned to capture the Deoxys to stop it, but if she wanted to do so, it had to be in normal form. Just then, Deoxys changed to normal form, so Solana attempted to capture it using her device. However, right before the device could circle around it, as usual, Deoxys quickly changed to speed form, which meant that the capture was useless. Max was particularly amazed by Deoxys' ability to change forms, but then he suddenly reacted with surprise when he heard it trying to talk, although it appeared no one else heard this. Deoxys then changed back to its normal form, so Solana attempted to capture it again with her device, but just then, Deoxys again changed its form to its defense form, therefore making the capture attempt useless, again surprising Solana and frustrating Ash and the rest of the gang. Max seemingly had other thoughts about Deoxys though. He was really interested in it for some reason, presumably due to the little connection that he and Deoxys had earlier, and he looked into its eyes as it fired off another Psycho Boost to attack everyone, though everyone dodged, just in time. Team Rocket then arrives where Ash and the gang were, and were pleased that Ash and the gang and Solana were being absolutely attacked by Deoxys, thinking that maybe if they told Deoxys that they shared common enemies, then maybe Deoxys would actually join them with no difficulty, although Meowth was able to sense that Deoxys was in pain due to being a Pokemon himself. Since Meowth could sense pain, because he was a Pokemon too, basically. Like, he could sense another Pokemon's pain. Anyways, Deoxys then changed to its speed form, as it flew around erratically for some reason. Solana wondered why, but she then looked on her device and saw that Deoxys was in pain, as she could see the pain levels on her device. Somehow, I don't fucking know. So this just confirmed Meowth's assumption that Deoxys was in pain. Ash and the gang quickly got up from dodging the previous Psycho Boost, and wondered what the fuck could be causing Deoxys pain, although unfortunately Solana revealed that her device didn't tell her why. Max, still really interested in Deoxys, said they had to do something to help its pain. So Solana got an idea, realizing that she could use the Miltank she captured, telling it to use Heal Bell to heal up Deoxys. And sure enough, this healed up Deoxys, and it then switched to normal form. Once this happened, Brock revealed that the geomagnetic force had actually returned. He just forgot to say, but after Solana had Miltank use Heal Bell, the geomagnetic disturbance level went down on the tracker. Solana was pleased with this, and was also pleased that Deoxys was now in its normal form, as she thanked Miltank and tried to capture it with her device again, but Deoxys obviously didn't want to be captured, as it switched to its defense form, making the capture useless yet again. Max noticed that Deoxys was also trying to speak again, but before he could point this out, Deoxys switched into attack form and used a Psycho Boost to attack Ash and the gang and Solana again. They very quickly tried to dodge, but they were sent flying backwards, being hit by the attack. Miltank didn't get hit though, but it certainly was scared off by the attack, running off. Right as Miltank ran away though, Team Rocket revealed themselves from behind the rock, being startled from the attack. You see, they were hiding behind a rock, and they instantly did their motto. Wobbuffet and Mime Jr. also joined in on the motto too, obviously, like they did every episode. Just then though, right after the motto, Deoxys appeared behind them and sent Team Rocket running, except for Meowth. He stayed right where he was and tried to talk to Deoxys, having a soft spot for it, knowing that it was injured and he didn't want it to be a part of Team Rocket after all. Ash and the gang simply watched as Deoxys just stared in response to what Meowth said. It wasn't responding at all. Max, seeing how Meowth was having trouble talking to Deoxys, thought that maybe he could talk to it if he was hearing it talk, so he climbed all the way up the meteorite to where Meowth and Deoxys were standing. Meowth eventually got to the point where he could understand that Deoxys was trying to say something, but he couldn't interpret what it was Deoxys wanted to say. Just then, Deoxys used a safeguard to surround the meteorite and itself, Meowth, and Max, preventing Brock, May, Jesse, James, Mime Jr., Wobbuffet, or Solana, or Pikachu or Plusle from entering the safeguard, even if they tried their best, not wanting Deoxys to do any harm to Meowth or Max. Max and Meowth were left immensely curious by why Deoxys was using safeguard, while the rest of Team Rocket and the rest of the gang and Solana, on the other hand, were a bit mad at Deoxys, demanding that it stop the safeguard and let them inside. Hearing the rest of the gang and Jesse and James' calls, Max and Meowth tried to convince Deoxys to stop the safeguard, but Max was then startled as Meowth started to act crazy as fuck. Max wondered what the fuck was going on as Meowth screamed, and everyone outside of the safeguard was startled by this as well. But Meowth suddenly closed his eyes and stopped moving entirely. when Max suddenly realized that Deoxys had taken over Meowth to use it as a translator, to essentially speak its own language and have Meowth talk in human language for it. And essentially, Max found out from Deoxys that Deoxys was scared. Everyone outside of the safeguard couldn't hear Deoxys talking through Meowth, so they were immensely confused and frightened, seeing Meowth's eyes glow blue and seeing him lifted up into the air, as signified by his possession. Max asked Deoxys to know why it was fucking scared and what had happened to it, assuring Deoxys that he would listen as best he could. So, Deoxys gave Max a vision of a meteorite inside Max's mind. Max was already startled to have seen Meowth floating and possessed and all that, but he was even more startled to be experiencing this vision, since it wasn't just of a meteorite, it was of a meteorite floating in very cold space, like in outer space, and Max could feel the coldness and realized that Deoxys must have felt cold as well. And Deoxys confirmed this, saying that it felt very cold and scared during the time it was on the meteorite while it crashed into Earth, confirming that Deoxys did in fact come from the meteorite. Deoxys then lifts Max up into the air with Meowth and opens up a new portal, taking itself, Meowth, and Max through the said portal, while Meowth was still possessed. The rest of the gang, Solana and Jesse and James, were frightened as they saw the portal close, and they didn't know what the fuck to do. Max and Meowth were gone with Deoxys, unbeknownst to everyone else, now in another dimension.